So here a couple minutes early to set up. You can be starting to make the transition of coming into the here now from the continuum of the past and the future that we sometimes dwell that way, don't we? Trying something different today with these microphones through my AirPods. If you can't hear me, that would be great information to let me know into the chat box. I did do a test and it seemed to work well, so hopefully all will be well and you won't hear as many of the surrounding sounds from the fan and the possible dog snoring and water lapping up. I hope you're surfing events as well as you can. I'm sure you are. It sometimes feels like we're not, right? We're regressing in our ability to keep a sense of balance and equanimity. Adyashanti, the meditation teacher, Jackie and I went on silent retreats with for a number of years. One of the teachings he gave was that when you feel like you're regressing, when you feel like you're going backwards in your practice or in your practice is something many of us do, and you can check this out for yourself, but we do it maybe for the sake of itself, for that coming home, but also so that it informs our life. So when we feel like we're regressing, we may feel that we're not meeting life as skillfully as we might be. And he cautioned that don't buy into it. Don't let it fool you that it's a perception. That's my interpretation of what he said. But it's more like just a time, maybe like a resting period, or maybe you are kind of taking a few steps back, but it doesn't mean that your practice is not working. Maybe that was his point. Keep at it. Keep at it. In the Yoga Sutra that we've been studying together, themes I've been bringing these Sundays here. When you regress, that is considered one of the obstacles toward our progress. But again, I think it's to be aware of, that we sense that that's what's true about our practice, and it doesn't mean that the practice is not working, and that's the part to be cautious about. Keep at it. Keep coming to your mat. Keep coming to your cushion. Keep taking some time, noting the feel of stillness, silence, and spaciousness that's always here. Good morning, Mary Beth. So nice to have you here again. So Mary Beth is a great example of somebody who is committed to her practice and letting the community help her by tuning in daily to the sun and moon offerings here. Hello there, I'm aLex Levin, and welcome to the Sunday 10 a.m. Eastern Time meditation with me on Sun and Moon YouTube channel, Sun and Moon Yoga Studios YouTube channel. So to start off with, because we'll be sitting together for about a total of 25 minutes or so as I chat a little bit, and then we'll do a 12-minute meditation. Welcome. Welcome just as you are, whatever is happening in your life today. I welcome you here. Good morning, Dina. Good morning, Mary Beth. Good morning to all of you who are joining me Sunday morning, and maybe some of you will join me later. So yes, set up your seat. So the mantra of ground, sound, breath to get us centered is very helpful. Ground in noticing whatever is supporting us. I have a little extra cushion underneath my knee that needs that asks for it. A little bit of extra lift under my pelvis so that the pelvis can really settle and all parts of my body above the pelvis and legs. So you might be on a chair, and so the chair and the ground under your feet is the ground. And the ground inside, the deep bones and all the structures of our body, I consider that the ground of giving attention to how that is positioned. I'll go into sound and breath a little bit later as we get closer to starting our 12 minutes. So today's theme to lightly ponder, and you can take this with you through the week if you like, is, oh great, ground sound breath. Today's theme is the fourth niyama, which are the rules for living, how the rules for guiding us in our practice and how we can orient our own practice to continue to evolve. Even as I was talking a little bit before the start, we can sense that we're regressing sometimes. And that's important to notice just whatever is coming up, messages coming in our mind, in our hearts, in our bodies, to listen to that. However, this fits with today's niyama. That fourth one is self-study. That is a little piece of us, a little message from our consciousness, our psyche, suggesting, I have something to say to you. I have something to say to you. I feel like I'm regressing. I feel like, so what is that? If we can give it some space, and giving it space might mean, this is part of the self-study. Giving it space may be that we hold it close and we listen to it in that way, like a close friend. And sometimes it might feel like, I don't want to hear you. I want to push you away, and don't visit me. Come back, or don't even come back. So you get to notice, wow, that's how I'm feeling about that emotion right now, or that sensation. And if that's the case, welcome that you're not ready to entertain it. You may also be somewhere in the middle. It's like, you've noticed that comes up often. This feeling of my practice is not working comes around cyclically, maybe. And maybe you don't want to hold it really close, like an intimate friend that you really trust. Maybe you don't trust it, or it's something that seems to be working against you. So you might just let it sit out in front of you, or if you imagine in this time of social distancing, you let it be with you. You're sitting in your backyard or on your balcony, and just let it be over there, a distance from you, 6, 9 feet away from you. I've even done this kind of practice where the qualities that arose for me, I didn't even plan this, but I put the person delivering, this was a person coming to me, a vision, a message. I put her in a bell jar, not far, and it's just imaginary. I hope she could still breathe, but there was some difficulty for me to let that be really close. So this self-study, another term for it, and one of the texts which I like consulting, Alistair Shearer's interpretation, he calls it refinement. And this fits so well with how I'm I'm practicing these days of allowing the words that I notice as I begin to get quiet enough and pause enough to welcome, uh, as I've just described, if it needs to be in the vast spaciousness of being, to allow whatever is arriving for me to have its presence, and notice the labels that I give it. So this label of regression, to take this example of that, we might sense that our practice is not working, where it's not um, manifesting in the way we had hoped that it would be in our life, that we might hold that in the bigger space of our awareness, in that wide open awareness that meditation cultivates, helps us cultivate. And we might notice that how we're perceiving regression, it might be needing to show us something else. It might be that we need to take take a look at how that is not showing up in our life, and see that picture, that perception we're having. And perhaps there is more to learn there. I When we hold it like that, I can't tell you what will arise, or you can't even know in advance what will arise. And but then we turn our attention to that. So that entity, the regression, the label that was regression, is like, oh, I'm still exploding when this family member ever triggers my button. I'm still exploding in that same way. I'm not making any progress. So then we get to hold that and sort of replay that vision for ourselves. And while you might be so disenchanted of having done this thousands of times, that same reaction, giving it even more space, this space of self study, not from a limited, narrow view and perception of who we are, but from a vaster, open, spacious heart, spacious mind. We may see and feel something, a different possibility. And so we may notice that, oh, I don't need to be so discouraged about that. Next time that opportunity comes, and in my experience, it has taken time. I have failed and failed again, but sometimes I've noticed, oh, I was just hesitated, gave myself like a fraction of a second more, and I still reacted the same way, but there was something just a little bit different because I gave it that tiny bit more space. And so it's a kind of clarity we come to. Dear teacher Eric Schiffman, and definitely look him up if you haven't met him yet. He's the author of a book, Yoga, the Spirit and Practice of Moving into Stillness. He's got a great YouTube presence as well. Um, he has said that this practice is like cleaning the window or windshield that's gotten very dirty. And initially, as we bring the Windex to the window, and it might make it worse. It might streak the mud and all this. So this is similar to the regression example. But he also said, and this is so many of his teachings, these brief little, his sutras, the Eric sutras, are kind of like Zen koans. They didn't make sense to me when I first heard them, or they resonated, but I was like, I know I am not fully getting this, but I was drawn to it. So one of them is that he says, it's not bad not to be clear, but you want to be clear. And that seemed like a contradiction to me. So instead of telling you what my interpretation of that is, I'll leave it with you to find out for yourself. It's not bad not to be clear, but you want to be clear. Okay, so let's get into the 12 minutes, and I'm going to try to be more silent this time as we begin our practice. And all these words that I've just given you, um, my recommendation is not to hold them too tightly, especially during these 12 minutes. And the sitting itself, you can really simplify it to two basic elements in our sitting. Well, I've got the mantra of ground, sound, breath. Let's go with that. Three basic elements. The three basic elements. So it's very simple. Keep it simple. All right. I'm going to ring the bell to start as well as finish today. So these first moments, which may be coming from um, building on our many moments together so far, about 15 minutes. So your sense of ground may be already well established, but there's a little piece of us that can continue to monitor that the stability is here for us, the foundation of our body in relationship to ground, to gravity. And when we establish a meditation seat, a huge part of the importance of getting the stability and the alignment just right is so that we can slide, as Eric's book title suggests, that we can slide towards stillness. And so the Yoga Sutras, in their very scant pointers about postural practice, simply tell us that the practice needs to be stable, supported, and then also full of ease. And so, in this establishing of code word ground, can we relax a little more in the deep belly, all the feeling spaces of the body, the primary feeling spaces, every part of our body can feel, but especially the deep belly, the hands, the heart, shoulders, the throat, the face, the eyes, the ears, the nose, the lips, and tongue. So ground, sound, breath can go in any order. For me, ground is usually the first one I need, but sometimes I use come to breath first. And today I'll come to breath second. So now, as we settle into the posture, as we relax the feeling spaces, We also notice the flow of breath around those feeling spaces. And so, peripherally and yet centrally, you might already be noticing in your meditation that phrases, commentary, just like the sports commentator, nonstop chatter, may be arising. Maybe there was a subtle comment, or maybe an overt comment about the breath. Lightly, lightly. I invite you not to wrestle with your thoughts and chatter. Give it a lot of space, a big field, like a puppy needs a big field with a good fence that it will not be able to get under and run away and be unsafe, but a big field, lots of playtime without disturbing the household. So ground, breath, and sound now. What a powerful capability. Sound and hearing, listening. You can notice how your attention welcomed sounds as I uttered the word. What 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 came to your attention? And noticing from this place of stillness, of our meditative pause, the kind of relationship and the potency of listening. Where is the listening? Is the sound out there, in here? But sound is also a code word for all that we're perceiving, not just the hearing sense, but the other five senses, the sixth sense, our intellectual knowing. For me, it's like that. You can see where code word sound takes you. So, all these concepts we can just hold lightly, these words, these symbols, and learning to hold words lightly, but respectfully, and more than that, lovingly, but lightly, so that they don't concretize and bind us in a concept that's dead, that's not true anymore. But rather welcoming the new symbols, the new words, by virtue of the holding lightly, we make space for the more accurate, the more refined, the more free sense of ourselves. Mindfully bring right and left palms together in front of the heart. And with the same listening, notice the feel as we bow. You can notice what words, what symbols bowing brings to you. We have traditionally at our Sun and Moon studio used the greeting Namaste as with our bowing at the end and sometimes beginning of classes as the light in me honors the light in you. And so it's a recognition of both those lights and our shared light. But as we've been recently examining that word, use of that word more closely, as we've maybe have just appropriated it from our Indian brothers and sisters without consciously without maybe the full respect that's given. But this inquiry has is so perfectly in line in this refinement, this sense of refinement. Um, who am I? Who am I, and how am I using how am I using language, and what terms come? And so for me, when I can pay attention more closely to, well, what's the feeling here now, freshly, um, here now, freshly, it's more alive, it's more true, more close to the truth of who we are. So I do really want to know who you are. I want to know who I am. And the more clearly we can know that about ourselves and each other, I think we might be in greater harmony. Thank you for your comments, and I'm so glad that the ground sound breath is making its way out through Dina's classes. Yeah, the social distancing, and we can do that with our negative visitors, the commentary that's coming in. So be well, my friends. Do check out Sun and Moon Yoga Studios website. We have a fantastic yoga fest coming up, a week of teachers joining us, some highly acclaimed teachers, Adil Pakivala and his wife, Kira Ryder, and many of our teachers offering short workshops, 45-minute workshops. So check out sunandmoonstudio.com, the events tab, and I hope to see you there, as well as other spaces together, both safely at distance as more and more is becoming available, and here online. Ciao, ciao.